And it paid off as the Gators are going to be going into fall camp with a fully healthy defense, as well as young newcomers with experience under their belts.
Good thing is those young players, and we've seen those guys grow and benefit from the injuries. We can view that as a negative, or we think we can view it as a positive. We've got a chance to get those guys that have played a lot of football back. But in general, I thought we could have been better on defense today. I think the players will probably tell you that as well. It's tackling in general. In the beginning of the game, we were not ready. Now I think that we settled in and did that better. Got to start a little faster.
It's 78 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
The Jaguars pre-draft media availability kicks off at 1:15 today at the Miller Electric Center. So right around, what would you say, 1:20, we'll know who the Jaguars are picking at pick number 5.
I think we already do,
exactly.
but that's a story for another time.
You think we already do?
Yeah.
Don't bury the lead. You think it's Mason Graham because he was wearing a Jaguars shirt yesterday?
I won't spoil who I'm having on Duval Rundown tomorrow. In case you missed it, Gus Logue is on vacation, so I've been filling in on our daily podcast on the 1010XL Jaguars channel. But put it this way, even the folks up in Connecticut, they're thinking the same way that many of you are with as far as what the Jaguars will do with the 5th overall pick.
Mason,
I kind of hope
Mason
they
Graham?
shock us all and change it up.
Well,
at
so
this point, I'm bored.
The point was
join me in the Genty train.
The point was made on the recording that I just completed that will be available tomorrow morning live at 9:04 a.m.
Live, sort of.
Sort of. I mean, listen, welcome to the new age. Point being, the point was made that after those first 3 initial picks, yes, there could be chaos. There are a variety of different ways the New England Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars, any team that trades up to one of those 2 spots could take this thing. And that is certainly being embraced, I think, by all parties. But there is also a notion of, hey, yes, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are in a different tier. Some will put Cam Ward in there. Frank Frangie joined me on the Duval Rundown podcast this morning, and he would put Cam Ward in that tier. I would not go that far. But there are those who believe there's a couple other blue chip prospects to be had in those first 5 to 7 picks. And I'll be curious to see if that is indeed the direction your Jacksonville Jaguars go, let alone all those other teams picking in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced the Giants go the way everyone is saying the Giants go. That's why when I said the other day, picks 1 through 2, I'm confident about. But I'm not personally at 3 or 4. And we heard news yesterday that the Giants are intrigued by Shedeur Sanders. And I've kind of joked with Mike Dempsey, and he's like, well, maybe it's like smokescreen trying to get people to trade up. I don't think the Giants are that smart. We saw last year with the Hard Knocks, the offseason Hard Knocks, of kind of the way that the dysfunction of how they felt about draft day and the different pools and certain things. Maybe they learned from it. I'm not convinced by that. I'm only about like 60%, like 40% of me feels like they might go Shedeur Sanders.
Well, especially when you look at the tweet from Mike Tannenbaum, who, it should be noted, yes, part of the 33rd team, yes, part of ESPN, did help the team across town, or rather the team that shares a stadium with the New York Giants and the New York Jets in their head coaching and GM search. He tweeted out this morning, when this happens, a team saying, hey, we need a last-minute workout with a particular player. When this happens so late in the process, either there's a big disagreement in their building or their evaluation, or on their evaluation, or they're reaching to new information. Mm-hmm. I saw a couple other people float that often when this happens, that said disagreement is between the owner and the front office and the coaching staff, which, if you watched Hard Knocks' off-season edition last year, it would not surprise you that John Mara wants one more look at a quarterback.
Yeah, Albert Breer yesterday reported that he's having a hard time finding coaches or scouts who have Shedeur Sanders going even as a first-round talent. Like, not even top 5, not top 10, but going in the first round. But if an owner does get involved, then that certainly is what can create that last-minute private workout. I found this fascinating. Breer also said that a coach told him, when you watch Shedeur Sanders and you watch Jackson Dart on film, when it comes to pressure, Jackson Dart moves up in the pocket, he climbs the pocket. Shedeur backs into more pressure and is not able to evade it, and so he at times runs away from defenders. So all that to say, is this last minute Shedeur Sanders smoke really just that? Are the Giants trying to trick people into thinking that they're now going to take the quarterback when for all this time we've thought they were taking either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter?
Well, and so here's the thing. What if they try to take Jackson Dart? Oh, wait, why would you take a quarterback who's in that middle tier? Maybe he becomes Brock Purdy, Bo Nix. Maybe he doesn't. When you could take a blue chip player like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, who logistically speaking have to be there at 3 if the Titans are going Cam Ward at 1, which by all accounts they are.
Because smart teams, Taylor, do the right thing and take the player that's projected to be a Hall of Fame, maybe, potential Hall of Famer, but at least a guy that's going to be a Pro Bowler. But dumb, desperate quarterback teams take the quarterback too high.
Well, I was about to say that. We've been here in Jacksonville. Like, if you get desperate, sometimes you take quarterbacks and pay quarterbacks that maybe you shouldn't. But when you're a team who has what the Giants have had, the way that the Daniel Jones everything went on was awful. Like they paid him too early after one season, and then instead of trying to fix things around him, they just kind of left him out and to figure things out on his own. And that was a lot of the issue. And so sometimes I do feel like if you are desperate, if there's any inkling that you're watching this film, and I know there's people that are saying maybe he's not a first round talent, then I'm seeing former quarterbacks saying there's no way he goes out of the top 10. So there's so much back and forth of Shedeur Sanders. It really reminds me of an Anthony Richardson situation because we had so much of that too, where it's like there's a lot of good things there, but can he pull it all together and make it functional in the NFL? And that's the question mark. But the draft in general is a question mark. So I do think that some team is going to risk taking the chance on Shedeur Sanders because if you need a quarterback, you do it. We've seen it over and over and over again. Teams every single year taking risk on quarterbacks that other people are like, what are you doing? Will Levis, Mitchell Trubisky. Like, we can go on and on and on about this. But I do think that it gets to a point where your fan base is just like, try something, figure it out. We need a quarterback, and right now your room's Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, so maybe Russ can start. It doesn't make Shedeur have to go out there right away. You can possibly develop him, give him some time to get used to the NFL, acclimated, kind of what they did last, Russ got hurt early last year, but what they were trying to do in Pittsburgh last year. But you never know. I'm just not convinced he's not going in the top 5.
This is because Mitchell Trubisky hurt you before.
Well, Mitchell Trubisky also won me an NFC North, so
Banners fly forever.
Personally don't hate Mitchell Trubisky the way other people do. I hated that they traded up a spot for Mitchell Trubisky, but I didn't hate that they drafted him.
But that hurt you before.
Yeah, and so I get it. I get being a fan base that is just like, find a quarterback. Like, just do what it takes to find a freaking quarterback.
Well, and that's the biggest question for this draft is if you're a team that does need a quarterback desperately, are you better off to wait and take a guy like a Kyle McCord in the second or third round and then develop that quarterback when you do have those other guys in front of him that at least can play for now? And so the Saints, that's a team that's a whole nother conversation like we talked about yesterday because we don't know the injury status of Derek Carr. But are you better off to be the Saints, take a good player at 9 and then come back later and take one of these other quarterbacks? Because what really is the margin between a Shedeur Sanders and these other guys?
Well, it's the same argument that you could, in theory, although there are those who believe he's a blue chip talent. It's the same argument you could make for defensive tackle, although in a different light, because this is expected to be one of the deepest defensive tackle classes that we've seen in recent memory. And so the argument is, why would you take Mason Graham at 5 when you could get a nice bite of the apple in the third round and not be spending premium capital? Additionally, as Hayes Carlyon made the point yesterday on Duval Rundown, there isn't that treasure trove of depth when it comes to the offensive line come the third or fourth round. And so to your point, Lauren, if you think that Jackson Dart is the same player as Kyle McCord, but you could get Kyle McCord in the third or fourth round comparatively to having to spend a first round pick on a quarterback who's the same as the other guy, then why would you do that?
Yeah, there's several positions to me at the top this year that you're like, okay, this is one of the better players in the draft, but it's also one of the deepest positions at the draft. So that's when your whole regime, the scouting department, everybody is kind of evaluating the worth of it. And that's when all of the question marks really start to come into play. And I think that when you talk about a team like the Giants, that the desperateness of needing a quarterback, I get, and that's why it just keeps coming back to it. But I also see why there would be hesitation, and I see why there's probably some back and forth in that room.
Well, and it's so interesting, too, because we've always heard that Shedeur Sanders, it's the personality of him that's why he may not be drafted that high. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think you figure you can mold a personality of someone to your regime or your culture, I should say, in the administration that you have because you believe in your philosophies. You know what a team's never done, which I would be here for? Take 2 quarterbacks. Take one in the first round, take one in the 4th round, and let them battle it out.
I mean,
and see what happens.
Not that the Jacksonville Jaguars did that once upon a time, but having Mark Brunell and Rob Johnson on the roster proved pretty fruitful a couple years down the line, did it not?
It didn't. Like, for some people would say, well, Gardner Minshew and Trevor were technically in a competition under Urban Meyer. Like, sure, but not really.
Well, yeah. I feel like maybe one of the closer ones we've seen is, and this is someone, he was there for a while, but the Aaron Rodgers, and then Packers traded up into the first round to draft Jordan Love, and that's why Aaron Rodgers was still in his high point. And I remember him being upset about that. Like, what are you doing? I still have a lot of
given him good receivers.
Yeah, and he was like, you could have got me a receiver there. Instead, you trade up and draft my replacement, which ended up actually being his replacement. But it's I feel like, give that competition and make it kind of work out. But then also some people would be like, okay, well, we have 75 holes. We can't have 2 quarterbacks.
And that's why, again, I understand why general managers don't do that. But I would be just so excited for the true competition.
7 quarterbacks and one of them has to work.
Competition at every position on the field, whether it's left tackle, quarterback, defensive tackle.
Quick note, we see the text line blowing up. Yes, Kirk Cousins and RG3 once upon a time were taken in the same draft class by the Washington football team. So, yes.
Oh, I forgot about
There's
that.
There's about 9 of you texted in all at once. 904-641-1010, the number to reach us at. Yes, there you go. Kirk Cousins, RG3, and that also proved pretty fruitful because, when RG3's leg exploded.
Well, and I think that was because of injury. Like, he already had the college injury, so they had to have a backup plan.
Yeah, normally you see a team go out and get that backup in free agency.
Yeah.
But, I'm fascinated to see if the Jaguars draft a backup quarterback in this draft. Very late, obviously, and I understand that they paid Nick Mullins, but how long do you want him to be here for? Would you rather have a guy that you can develop, someone that you think has the traits that you would want in a quarterback? It's all going to be fascinating. All right, one of the guys that we do think will be taken in the top 5 had a bold statement. We will get to that and discuss the list of the draft attendees that was announced yesterday. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The past comes to life in the present.
And the Jaguars are going to the playoffs.
The memories bridge the gap to the future.
From 27-0 to win the game.
Experience the most play-by-play sports on 1010XL.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all-you-can-eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
I've been having knee problems for probably 6 months, and my knee was getting worse, and I had heard about Southeast Orthopedics on the radio, and I gave them a call. They got me right in. Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. It was painless, and it's been doing fantastic. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Mia here, and I've got a question for you. Have you ever wondered why buy from Arlington Toyota? I'll tell you why. How about over 800 vehicles in one location? That's unheard of. And that means that Arlington has what you want. Camrys, Corollas, RAV4s, Tacomas, Tundras, even the all-electric B74X. Have you seen that thing? So good. And it's all waiting for you at Arlington. Or how about this reason why? 60-day exchange. So you can buy it, take it home, drive it around for 60 days, and then if you decide it's not quite right, you can bring it back and exchange it. Now that's total confidence. You even get Arlington's lifetime warranty with your new Toyota purchase. Why buy from Arlington? Because right now you can get financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models. 0%. It doesn't get any lower than 0%, and you can get it today at Arlington Toyota. And that's why you should buy from Arlington. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or at arlingtontoyota.com.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association. Tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Visit sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here, whether you're tackling overflowing closets, a messy garage, or an unorganized pantry, Closets by Design will create a custom storage system that helps you breeze through spring season stress and mess-free. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Get 40% off plus an additional 15% off and free installation with special 12-month financing. Call Closets by Design today, 1-800-293-3744. That's 1-800-293-3744.
Enhance your home with Renewal by Anderson's superior craftsmanship and timeless design. Right now, get $300 off all windows or $825 off patio doors. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months, but this offer expires April 30th. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Get to know positions and players. The 1010XL Ultimate Draft Guide is brought to you by Blue Haven Pools, the #1 pool builder in Jacksonville. Follow rankings and roundtables as the draft takes shape. Go to 1010XL.com/2025 draft guide to get yours.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. There was a time when if you handed me a bread basket at a restaurant, you better watch your fingers. Pizza, pasta, bread, carbs were absolutely my weakness. I'd be lying if I said they didn't have me hooked. Then Awaken 180 came into my life. I've been down every diet road there is, but this is different. It's not just another diet. It's a total reset of how you see food. You know that carb craving that we all accepted as normal? That's gone for me now. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy the good stuff, but here's the difference. I no longer feel like I need them. So when the server puts that bread basket on the table, I just smile, sit back, and say, nah, I'm good. That feeling of control is all thanks to Awaken 180. I lost 40 pounds in 9 weeks on Awaken 180. Hacker lost more than 110. Baloo is on his way, and you can lose whatever you want to lose. It doesn't matter what your goal weight is. Awaken 180 weight loss will get you there quickly and safely. It's a clear path to success without disappointment. Awaken 180 has changed my life, and it will change yours too. Give them a call at 844-346-1800 or go to awaken180weightloss.com. Trust me, you'll thank yourself.
It's heating up at Ride Now Jacksonville. Get water adventure ready with the 2024 Yamaha AR195 boat. With its supercharged engine, innovative design, and water sports features, the Yamaha AR195 is ready for anything you throw at it. Originally $46,000, now just $36,000. Oversized in-floor storage for wakeboards and extra gear, deck and hull design that maximizes space, comfort, and versatility like no other 19-foot boat. Ride Now Jacksonville on Blanding Boulevard. We'll meet or beat any price on all 2024 and prior models.
Plumbing problem? AC not blowing cool? Septic tank backing up? No need to call 3 different companies. Just call Duck Duck Rooter. At Duck Duck Rooter, we do it all. Plumbing, septic, and air conditioning with expert technicians in each department. One company, one call, one easy bill. No hassle, no runaround, just fast professional service from highly skilled techs who know their stuff. Need help? Call 904-862-6769 today and let Duck Duck Rooter handle it all. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Neck pain, back pain, or headache, Shinatri Chiropractic has 4 locations: Westside, 103rd, Riverside, Arlington, and the Beaches. Acupuncture, dry needling, physical therapy. Relief starts today. Shinatri Chiropractic, 743-6700.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast, and if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Come over here, sit next to me. We can see where things go naturally.
We will air the Jaguars pre-draft media availability today at 1:15, so keep it right here on 10 a.m. 92.5 FM like you always do. Anyway, one segment to go here with Mia O'Brien. Mia, I want to get your thoughts on Travis Hunter saying he's never going to play football again if he can't play both wide receiver and cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah, when Taylor mentioned that to me, I was like, that's weird, because this is a guy who's prided himself throughout the pre-draft process as, I'll play wherever, I just love football. And so it's interesting that his tone has changed. Maybe it's because now his number is getting retired by the University of Colorado.
Yeah.
Question mark. So Shedeur Sanders, which has caused quite the discourse out there in the mountain range.
Yeah, this quote, by the way, is from last week, but it just started
So
picking up traction today, which I'm not sure how that happened. But either way, I think what he's trying to say is, I need to be on the field. He talked about how the tempo in college football is much faster than the tempo in the NFL. And so he feels like he can certainly do both. And I like the confidence.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's going to dictate, though, whatever team drafts him, whether it be 2 or 3, he's not going to dictate where he plays on the field.
Yeah, and I think the quote when he said, never playing football again. Okay.
What are you going to do?
Sure. Yeah, sure, Travis. But I'm sure this is maybe his way of just getting out there of like, he would like to, and I'm sure he would like to play both sides of the ball. That's part of what he did in college. That's part of what he's really good at. That's part of what makes him this like special prospect that he is. And I think maybe he wants to highlight that, like the confidence that he truly believes he can play both sides in the NFL. And I do think we've kind of seen this thing with the Browns, for example, where he's getting pigeonholed into they want a receiver, so he's going to be a wide receiver. And maybe he doesn't love the idea of that. I don't see a world where he's like, no, I'm not going to go. You drafted me second overall. I'm not going to go because you're going to tell me to play wide receiver. And we started talking about money, before and that doesn't matter right now because it's where you're drafted. But eventually that contract talk is going to matter of which position he's playing. And so maybe in his world, he wants to be able to show that he can be that dual. He saw what Shohei Ohtani got in baseball doing both. But I don't see a world where he's like, no, I'm not coming to you because you want me to play wide receiver.
I mean, this is a guy, it's not like this is Deion Sanders' kid, like Shedeur, where he can legit be like, all right, yeah, or Shiloh, like, I'm just going to be my dad's, assistant coach on the football team. I'm sure he's going to play football.
742 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, puts it, what is also hard to believe is that he would give up all that money to not play, because that's a great point you bring up with Shohei Ohtani, because Shohei Ohtani, part of why he's the highest paid player in baseball is A, because he's a very, very good baseball player, but B, because he does so much for you. And so if you are Travis Hunter and you do play, on certain sub packages on the defensive side of the ball, even if you're technically listed as a wide receiver, well, now in terms of your asking price, the cost of $1 just went up.
Yeah.
And that's what I think for him is the ultimate play. Not that money should be the focus. But again, if you've marketed yourself up to this point as I am just a football guy, I'm all football, whatever you need. If you need me to play all 3 ways, I will. That's why I can't see him coming off of that persona.
And I think he's you can tell. He's that type of guy that he has the confidence level as high as the most confident guys in the NFL, and he's not even quite in the NFL yet. I also think he's probably already thinking mindset, and when he comes in and he's picturing that game where he has a pick and 120 yards receiving and a touchdown, and that's immediately going over to those cleats are going over to the Hall of Fame immediately. I'm sure his head's already churning like that. So he doesn't want to already be going into this draft or into a team thinking that possibility can't happen. But I don't think he says no to it if they're saying, hey, you're going to be our wide receiver.
Also, what's more fun than having, like you said, both a touchdown and an interception in the same game? Like, there's nothing.
Like, fans
that
would go
be
wild.
Right.
His jersey's going to be one of the higher selling ones wherever he goes because he's just that type of player too.
Absolutely. All right, so the players that have confirmed that they will attend the draft in Green Bay next week, among them, 2 quarterbacks, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, outside of Cam Ward. We are confident Cam Ward's going to go in the top 5, probably number 1. Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, I'm not going to Green Bay if I'm them.
Yeah, Milroe really shocks me. Jackson Dart, I think there is some chatter.
Smoke.
Yeah, and
There's a possibility.
It reminds me of the Will Levis one, and then now it's awkward because he's just sitting there. But I feel like there's
He'll be
more
sitting
and
with
more
Jalen Milroe at least. At least he'll have somebody to sit with. Yeah.
He won't be alone. Honestly, there's a lot of these where I'm kind of like, oh, this is a little bold of you. But, I mean, I guess the experience of being there, and it looks like there's going to be at least more than one still sitting in the room at the end of the first round, so it's not like the situation where Will was just lonely.
I do hope that the NFL, I don't know if they do this or not, but pays their way and their family's way to go to the draft, because obviously the NFL needs this more than the players need it. The players can be at home like Trevor Lawrence was. Trevor knew he was going number 1 overall to the Jaguars. He didn't need to be at the draft that year. And so if you have to pay your own way to go and you might get embarrassed on national television, I'm not here for that.
Well, but again, and to tie two things together, especially because High Tide on the South Side off the text line said he needs Taylor and my WNBA draft hot takes before I head out to the Jaguars pre-draft availability. In that same vein.
There's no chance he said that.
Yeah, he did. Go on the text line. Pull up the text line. He literally said we need to talk about Haley Van Lith, and we're going to talk about Haley Van Lith here in a second. Point being, the reason that Paige Beckers had 2 outfits last night, Taylor, was why? Because 2 different companies were paying her to wear their outfits. And so the same thing is said for National Football League draftees. It's the same exact thing. So to your point, well, yes, you're paying your own way to get to Green Bay, and it's not exactly as convenient to get to as New York City. Ultimately, let's be real. There's somebody else, one of your endorsers is picking up the bill because you want the glitz and the glam of, oh, look at my watch, look at my suit. This is part of the show for so many of these guys.
Yeah, I, by the way, and you have to go to Wisconsin.
Come on now, Taylor. There's good food to be had.
But yeah, it is. And it's a branding thing. So you think about it, and the Jackson Dart one I get personally way more than Milroe, because I have heard more and more. And if there's that possibility that you're that outlier quarterback, and we were talking about it a little bit with the Saints, how the Saints have come out and kind of said they like Dart more than Shedeur Sanders. If there's a chance that you are and you're one of those guys, like, why not? Just for kind of the experience, and maybe there's memes after of you sitting there, but at the same time, it's something that a lot of these guys have been waiting for their entire life to be on draft day, and for it to be one of those guys that are actually in the building. And some want to be with their family. Some want to be at home and like be in their more comfortable environment. Some want to be on the TV and shown over and over again. I personally would not, but
I mean, it's branding if you go in the first round.
I mean, I think it's still branding. Like, if Will Levis ended up being good, that would have been that moment of him coming back being like, remember when no one selected him, and we keep having this clip of coming back to him. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But if you're one of those guys where it does work out and you're going back to draft day and being like, all 32 teams passed on him in the first round, and you keep showing that clip, and now this guy just won 2 playoff games in his head, like that in the future, if you have confidence in yourself that you can be something, then you might want to use that as some leverage.
Levis, I feel like now is most known branding-wise for the mayonnaise.
For sure.
And so the mayo check still
he did
clears.
that to himself.
He's just self-deprecating. All right, on the other side, I've got odds for the number 5 pick overall going to the Jaguars. We've got a lot to do. Mia is headed off to the Miller Electric Center, so we'll have to get the WNBA takes tomorrow. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
XL 1010.
Code invalid.
That's not good. Is that good?
What the hell did you do? I entered the ignition code, that's all.
Self-destruct sequence activated.
1010XL.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Mia here. Summer is just around the corner. Is your air conditioning unit ready to handle the heat? There is one way to find out, and it doesn't cost you a penny. My friends at Duck Duck Air Conditioning are hooking up all of our 1010XL listeners with a free inspection. Give them a call to schedule now, 904-862-6769. And if you need any repairs, they'll provide a free estimate to ensure your system is ready for that Florida heat. Call Duck Duck Air Conditioning at 904-862-6769. And be sure to tell them you want the free AC inspection you heard about on 1010XL.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Right now, get 15% off roof replacement and repairs. Financing's available with monthly payments as low as $115. But this deal ends April 30th. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Your
Your tax refund is here. Why not invest in your home? Superior Fence and Rail helps you build value with beautiful, durable fences that boost your home security, privacy, and curb appeal. With expert installation and financing options, turning your yard into an outdoor oasis is easier than ever. Reinvest in your home today with Superior Fence and Rail.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team put your best interests first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at HodgesMazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
Clean air, cool air, both are extremely important. Trust Florida Home AC to deliver on both with their Remy Halo, the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and breathe clean and cool air.
Lauren Brooks here for Novus Glass of Jacksonville. Novus Glass is already well known for their customer service for windshield, window, and glass repairs and replacements, but now they're the only place in town where you can get Turbo Tint. Turbo Tint is incredible new technology that will reduce the heat inside your car and house, just like darker tint, but Turbo Tint allows natural light to come through. Turbo Tint blocks up to 99% of harmful UV rays, so give them the website visit today at turbotint.com to get Turbo Tint from Novus Glass.
Hey gang, Prosser here, and it's always great when you can replace a problem with a promise. And let me get right down to it. When it comes to Chad and Sandy and selling your home, here's a promise that you can count on. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Now, more. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down. Activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though, and hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize hassle is the key. Those expert agents, and I'm recommending them to sell your home, Chad and Sandy Newman. There have been lots of you out there on the First Coast who are taking advantage. Take David and Heather in Fox Ridge. This is out in Orange Park. We wanted to move to Keystone Heights to get closer to family, away from the city. We heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. What you hear is true. We got multiple offers and sold in 3 days for $15,000 above asking price. Call the local experts I trust and recommend to sell my home and yours. Call Chad and Sandy, 414-6200, ChadAndSandy.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 15, 1979, at the 43rd U.S. Masters Tournament, Fuzzy Zoller wins his only Masters with a birdie on the second hole of a playoff with Ed Snead and Tom Watson.
Interest rates have plummeted. It's time to call Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here, and if you're looking to get cash out of your home equity, refinance out of a high rate, or do a home improvement project, Loan Pronto can make it happen in a matter of just days. Take advantage of this opportunity and get tens or even hundreds of thousands out of your home equity. Pay off all your credit cards. Pay off your car loan. The average homeowner cuts their monthly bills by $1,000. Get more info at loanpronto.com. Inflation and higher costs have put a lot of people in a stressful financial situation. But if you own a home, there's a way out. Loan Pronto has multiple options that can help you get the financial freedom you deserve. Most homeowners get their cash in less than 2 weeks, and most don't even need an appraisal. Do the smart thing. Stop paying insane rates on those credit cards. Wipe them all out. Get a lower mortgage rate. Get some money for that home improvement project. Do it all by going to loanpronto.com or call 904-999-1508. That's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
It's beautiful, it's bittersweet.
Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Mia O'Brien headed down to the Miller Electric Center. Just a reminder, the Jaguars pre-draft media availability kicks off at 1:15 today, and we will let you hear all of that live here on the Superstation. All right, Taylor, in the eyes, I think, of most people, as we've discussed for the last few months, Mason Graham would not surprise you to have the best odds as being drafted number 5 overall by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do you think would have the next best odds? I would have answered this incorrectly if that gives you any hint.
Okay. Next best odds. I might say Jalen Walker.
He has the third best odds, so that is a really good guess. And I probably would have guessed either Jalen Walker or Ashton Genty. So there's a hint as to the next best odds after Jalen Walker. It is Ashton Genty, who I feel like has been picking up steam.
Yeah.
This is an offensive lineman.
Oh, a Membo.
Yes, it is not Will Campbell, but it is Armand Membo. I feel like we've moved a lot away from, or at least I've moved a lot away from offensive line being the pick at 5 because of what the Jaguars have done through free agency and because of what was already on the roster.
Yeah.
Now, that could be wrong. Maybe they are taking a tackle at 5, and then that tells us certainly what they think of either their left or right tackle. But Armand Membo, I feel like we have not discussed that much. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I love Armand Membo.
But he's a right tackle, right?
Yeah, but they say he may be better as a guard. So that's where my mind goes, is maybe the Jags are seeing him as a guard. And if so, sign me up, because I've already said I do not like the interior still. And that's why I haven't fully moved away personally from the offensive lineman, because I don't think the offensive line is any better than it was at points of last year. So I wouldn't be mad about that. And I've said that. I know a lot of people do not agree with me. I wouldn't be mad with an Armand Membo. I wouldn't be mad with a Will Campbell. I wouldn't be mad with Ashton Genty. I wouldn't be mad with Mason Graham. There's a lot that honestly I would be okay with in this draft, because I think the Jags have so many holes and because I like all of those players.
What about Josh Simmons, the Ohio State tackle that got hurt?
Yeah, and I've honestly started seeing more about him recently too, and I feel like that's somebody that I haven't talked about almost hardly at all. So yeah, I feel like the injury thing is obviously part of it, and that's what a lot of these guys, when I start doing a lot of my draft podcasts or start kind of reading over a lot of these things, the injury thing is always one of the biggest, like, well, it depends of this, and like when the injury happened this last season and stuff like that. It sounds like he'll be okay from everything that I have heard. So if that is somebody that they feel like can come in and kind of be an immediate starter, because that's the main thing you have to look at here. When you're talking about the 5th pick, it has to be somebody that is going to be playing right away. And that's where you have to start to evaluate those things. And Armand Membo, that's why I almost said, when you were like having me guess, and I almost said Will, and then I switched to Membo, strictly because the fact that they say he could play inside and he could play right tackle. I think that Anton Harrison, to me, is one of the ones I like. Like, of the 5, Anton's the one that I have the most confidence on that will be on this roster past the next year or two. You know, I don't know with Walker Little, and you and I have had that conversation a lot of, what if they don't love him? What if, like, this was a Trent Baalke thing that he did midseason of deciding to extend Walker Little, but what if they don't see Walker Little as that true left tackle and they start to evaluate it a little different? And that's obviously where the Will Campbell conversation comes in. But if it was Membo, to me, that would be them saying that there's a guy that they need, one of the guards. He can play one of those guard positions.
It would be hard for me if the Jaguars, even if the future is tackle, draft a guard at 5 overall. Like, the interior of the offensive line, I feel like you can get certainly much deeper in the draft. And I get if the plan is, well, eventually one day he's going to be the left or the right tackle, not just Membo, but whoever it is at 5. Then I understand the long-term philosophy. But for the here and now, in order to really help your quarterback, I don't know if upgrading one position of the interior of the offensive line is going to change that much around him. But also, at the same time, the argument, Mason Graham doesn't necessarily help your quarterback when their quarterback's on the field. It helps the team overall, certainly. But it does feel like the Jaguars specifically have liked Mason Graham this whole time, and he is intangibly rich. So we should not be surprised if he's drafted there. If Jalen Walker's drafted there, also intangibly rich, I will not be surprised. Ashton Genty, I know, would be certainly a surprise as far as the running back position, how much of a resurgence it's had. But he is also very intangibly rich, and he would drastically help your quarterback when he's on the field. The other odds, by the way, Will Campbell 9-1, Tyler Warren 18-1, the tight end, and Tet McMillan, the wide receiver, 20-1. Just not that any of those people in Vegas have talked to James Gladstone or Tony Baselli or Liam Coen.
Like, what are the odds of each of these players?
Exactly, but I just found those interesting because, again, Membo is, even though I understand the need for the offensive line in the long term, that's a surprise name for me.
Yeah, and I do think Arbon Mimbo is also one of the guys that we've seen skyrocket the last couple months. Previous to, I would say, even like Combine, you weren't talking about Mimbo as much, and then all of a sudden that name started climbing and climbing. Because when I first started, if you go back to like January time, Mimbo was one of the guys that a lot of people were saying, yeah, he's still in the top of the rankings when it comes to the offensive lineman, but he was more so like late first round, early second round, and now he's talking about being a top 5 pick. So I do think that some of that is maybe a little bit of the hype of what's been going on. I think Armand Membo is going to be a really good player. I also am fascinated to see whoever does draft him, where they play him, because he did pretty much play almost all right tackle in college, but they're saying because of the size and stuff, he may be better on the inside. But I've had, when we talked to, obviously, John Jansen from Michigan, and I asked that question of how quickly do you know if a guy, if a tackle needs to slide in and play guard, and what are kind of the restraints of the size and what goes on there. And he's very adamant about, if a guy plays tackle, you need to play him at tackle. And then if that doesn't work out, if you draft him as a tackle and it's not working, then you can move him in and have some inside flexibility, and because they'd be able to transfer to a guard, but you don't automatically take away the position that they played elite at the college level.
Right. And for people who aren't exactly sure why tackle versus interior of the offensive line, it's pretty much like you said, a size thing. You're going to have your tackles as being the taller guys with the longer wingspan, the longer arm length, and very powerful, very pretty much athletic too, which it's hard to find those guys. So if they go tackle at 5, then hey, you know what? That means that their evaluation of that guy, because in my opinion, Baselli's there also evaluating, means they project him to be certainly really, really good. I read an article from ESPN about the 7 guys that have been rising in this year's draft, and Membo is certainly one of them, to your point. And they say why he rose. He doesn't have prototypical tackle height, so evaluators at the beginning certainly had him as guard, but they do believe with an 82-inch wingspan at the combine, he is on par with some of the tallest tackles in this class. Guards or centers, on the other hand, a little bit shorter wingspans, but also bigger girth, much more solid, probably probably squat a little bit more than maybe the tackles. Like, they are the people movers, so to speak. And so that's the difference for people. I know we have we always talk to all the women who listen, and not always just women, but people who are like, you guys are so knowledgeable, but sometimes I need you to explain. Like, I don't know what a 3 technique is versus a 1 technique, so I always have to try and reset.
When we talk about the tackles and the offensive linemen in this draft, another one that's interesting to me, and we never got into this last week, but when the Beast was released last week, and he goes through obviously positional rankings, and in his guards, his offensive guards, he has the second best guard as Kelvin Banks out of Texas. But everybody I've talked to from Texas is like, he's a tackle. Stop trying to move him inside, because this guy is going to be a really, really good tackle in the NFL. And so it's interesting to me to see how different guys evaluated at this side, because you'll hear offensive linemen say, no, keep these people at tackle if they play left tackle or right tackle during their career. And then if you need to adjust once they hit the NFL, that's one thing. But stop trying to move them before they ever play a snap, because a lot of these guys, they did it their whole career, and they were doing it in the SEC. So let's relax a little bit and let them play the position that they're elite at.
Yeah, another guy that was in the ESPN 7 guys that have been rising, Gray Zabel, who we've talked a lot about, center guard out of North Dakota State. So not doing it in the SEC, but because of the Senior Bowl, he was so impressive. He's
doing it against SEC guys at the Senior Bowl.
Exactly. And so I feel like the problem for these draft evaluators is they've got their lists and their boards in like November, December, when college football is still going on, and they're able to evaluate guys, and they think maybe they've got a steal, right? Like, they've got a gem, and that's Gray Zabel. And then the Senior Bowl happens, and then everybody's alerted to him, and now you can no longer get him where you thought you could get him.
Yeah, and that's what I think, that some of the people, because we know the ones that are truly in depth when it comes to the film side of stuff, and those are personally the ones I trust a little bit more. The ones that sat there and watched every Gray Zabel snap during his college career, I trust more than the guys who are like, oh, here his RAS score. Here's how long his arms are. Here's how tall he is. Here's how this is. Because we've started to see these, both on the offense and the defensive side. It used to be these like very prototypical, this is the size of a linebacker. This is the size of a defensive tackle. And we've started seeing that skew a little bit, just because offenses are changing, and because offenses have changed the way the NFL offenses have started to run. And now we're getting back to kind of like this run game too. But you've had to have these linebackers that were more athletic and more flexible, and were able to drop back in coverage. And so some of those things started to skew the way that you had to evaluate linebackers. And we've had the conversation on this show of, do they eventually make another position out for, like, certain players, because there is this weird range of now the importance of the deep passing game, but also having these running backs that can catch the ball in the backfield and run faster than a lot of these safeties and corners and all of these things. So I do think that we're seeing such this shift. It's hard to kind of pigeonhole guys and just because of their size.
Well, that's why nickel corners are getting paid so much more than they used to be paid, because we're now seeing that the true tight end, the once upon a time traditional tight end of the big guy like a Gronkowski.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden Gronk showed the world tight ends can catch the football too and become a huge part of the passing game. Well, who's going to defend that guy?
Yeah.
It's why Evan Ingram,
Yeah,
when
they're
he
like,
was
we need
here,
a big guy there too now.
Right. Like, what type of player is able to take on that nightmare matchup with those move tight ends?
Yeah.
And so that's why those nickel corners are becoming more and more important. All right, let's get into today's Pest of the Day, brought to you by Terminix. Terminix is where you can find them online. They will take care of your pests, your termites, your mosquitoes, whatever it is, you name it. And that's why they take care of Everbank Stadium, ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, so many different event venues around town. For me, Taylor, it's the people saying that Jalen Ramsey needs to come back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you forgot, Jalen Ramsey was once drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was an elite corner for the Jaguars. Many people thought he would be a Jaguar forever and eventually would go into the Hall of Fame and be probably the second guy behind Tony, unless maybe Jimmy Smith and Fred Taylor get in, right? That was the trajectory when Jalen Ramsey was drafted. And then in 2019, Jalen Ramsey faked a back injury in order to leave, because I understand the team was not good at that point in time, but you still can't quit on your team. And then that's when the Jaguars eventually were forced to trade him. He's been to several teams since then, or at least a couple teams since then. And yes, he did win a Super Bowl with the Rams. And yes, he at some points in his career was an elite player. Over the past few years, if you watch Jalen Ramsey, he gets burnt all the time. And at times he can make good plays, but he's not reliable anymore as a corner that can take on the fastest receivers. And so the Dolphins are now interested in potentially trading him. By all means, you can trade him, Dolphins.
Yeah.
I do not want him here in Jacksonville. And to me, people who clamor for Jalen back to be on this team, that's my pest of the day.
Yeah, I also do not want Jalen Ramsey back here. I think that it's hard for sometimes you obviously get these attachments to players, and that was a really fun time, at least a couple of the years were a very, very fun time when it comes to what the defense did. And there was also a lot of pieces to that defense that made the defense what it was. And Jalen Ramsey, yes, was a big part of it. I'm wondering if it's that time in Jalen's career he starts playing safety. And that's what I'm interested in. And he said in interviews previously that eventually in his career he would be open to moving to the safety position, and I think he'd be a really good safety right away. And I feel like that would be the way that it would work best for him, and probably another team too. Don't want it here. Well, actually, we need safety, so I don't love Jalen Ramsey, so I don't want him back here. But if he were, I would hope they would do something like that over making him that outside corner again. But
safeties have to be team players and communicative.
And that's what he has to figure that out, because I do think that this
That's
is
never
just
been him.
No, and it's just another example of like what we're seeing now. It feels like when things are going really good, he's fun. When the moment things start to go any sort of bad, he gives up on the team and he doesn't want to be there and he forces his way out. And to me, that's just not the type of player and I don't see a James Gladstone wanting a player like that on this team that he's trying to like build back into a winning product and a winning culture again. But I do see some other team wanting, you look at Jalen Ramsey and you go back, he was one of the best when it comes to safeties last year. He was one of the best run stoppers in the safety position last year. That's why to me, I think as the corners, that's why I think that safety switch could be beneficial for him.
Yeah, like Yannick Ngakoue coming back would never have bothered me. Like, I understand the issues that he had on social media with the front office, and that's not the way you should conduct yourself by any means. But to me, that wasn't so treacherous that he could never rejoin the Jaguars. And I would have no issues cheering for Jan if he became a member of the Jaguars once again.
Even with him and Tony Khan's fight.
Right. Like, I think they would have to have a public apology, but we've moved on. The Jalen Ramsey one is one, if he became a Jaguar again, like, I don't know if I could cheer for him. I cheer for the team.
Yeah.
If I'm in the press box, I don't cheer at all.
You wouldn't cheer for him to suck because you'd want him to play well.
But it would be so hard for me because I don't think he's intangibly rich. I do not think that if they were to talk to him tomorrow that he would come up in that category. And again, I just have so many memories of the last few years of receiver running right by him and him really kind of throwing his hands up and being like, well,
can't do it.
Either I'm too slow or wasn't my guy. It's usually more of it wasn't my guy. But he is, I think, a lot slower than he once was.
Garrett Wilson posted on his Instagram a video of him. And I mean, Jalen's ankles were broken after this play. And the caption of the video was like, broken coverage is what Garrett Wilson put on the thing. And it was just Jalen literally, his ankles just both collapsing and him falling over on his face. And not saying that's all the time. He still has the moments of he makes good plays, but you're seeing more and more of that the later you're seeing in his career. But yeah, I think that you can't go back. You can't go back to, and I wouldn't even want to go back to Jan personally. Jan's been on so many teams now. To me, there's something else because it's never worked out. There's something that doesn't fit with Jan in locker rooms because he's bounced around a lot. Even in years where he's had kind of decent years, they part ways with him. So to me, there's something in that team when you go back to 2018 and the way that locker room just completely collapsed. I've heard a lot of stories of how those two guys in specific, Jalen Ramsey and Yannick Ngakoue, were very toxic in that locker room, and it caused a lot of problems, a lot of splintering. And you don't want that. Like you can't go backwards just because this guy made a couple good plays for you. Made a lot of good plays for you in 2017, but you can't go back to that because that was a world where it was like a one-hit wonder. And once things started to collapse, it collapsed really bad. And you're trying to move forward, not backwards.
And AJ Boye on the other side of the field was an excellent corner that year too. It wasn't all just Jalen Ramsey at that point in time.
You could look at charts. Like if you Google AJ Boye's name on Twitter, the amount of things he was so underrated during that time. Honestly, those couple years, he's the top of every corner. When you go back to 2017, it was like AJ Boye, like in every statistical category you want to.
Back then, I was in the locker room after every practice, after every game. And so I got to talk to Yannick Ngakoue one-on-one. I got to talk to Jalen Ramsey, less one-on-one because he didn't love media availability. But the difference in the attitudes, even after a win, that's why I guess I'm team Jan if he were to come back and certainly not team Jalen. All right, we've got one segment to go to keep it right here on the Superstation on 1010 XL 92.5 FM.
This is the place for Jaguars football.
Your AFC South champs, baby.
1010 XL, home of the Jaguars.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When mosquitoes show up, they are such a buzzkill. You want them out of your yard and quickly. At Terminix, they know that mosquitoes bite, but not for long. They'll provide regular treatments to protect you and your family all season long. Go ahead and schedule that picnic because when mosquitoes show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a mosquito problem. I didn't want to. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Paying rent can feel like throwing money away. And when you're spending so much, it can be hard to see yourself buying a home. So Rocket Mortgage is helping you put your monthly rent towards home ownership with Rent Rewards. For the first time, save up to $5,000 off the cost of your first home just by paying rent. Only at Rocket Mortgage. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
For the greenest, lushest lawn on the block, choose the local legends, Roundtree Sod. Don't just settle for ordinary. Let Roundtree Sod deliver you a picture-perfect lawn. To get a free estimate, call 7414-SOD. 7414-SOD.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Poker players, the Run Good Poker Series is coming to Best Bet Jacksonville from April 24th to May 4th with 10 poker events, including the $1,200 main event, hosting a $300,000 guaranteed prize pool, and event number 1, a $400 no-limit hold'em tourney with a $200,000 guarantee. The action is non-stop. One in, win your seat through satellite starting April 4th at Best Bet Jacksonville. For all the Run Good Series structures and details, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Before the picks come in, 1010XL will be all over the draft with every angle and option. 1010XL's draft coverage is brought to you by First Coast Recyclers and Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors. Roll through the offseason with AA Automotive.
Hacker here, and guess what my scale reads? 195 pounds. I'm shocked seeing that number, but it's there every month. The weight is staying off after dropping 122 pounds. Absolutely life-changing. Awaken180weightloss.com.
Mia here, and I've got a question for you. Have you ever wondered why buy from Arlington Toyota? I'll tell you why. How about over 800 vehicles in one location? That's unheard of. And that means that Arlington has what you want. Camrys, Corollas, RAV4s, Tacomas, Tundras, even the all-electric B74X. Have you seen that thing? So good. And it's all waiting for you at Arlington. Or how about this reason why? 60-day exchange. So you can buy it, take it home, drive it around for 60 days, and then if you decide it's not quite right, you can bring it back and exchange it. Now that's total confidence. You even get Arlington's lifetime warranty with your new Toyota purchase. Why buy from Arlington? Because right now you can get financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models. 0%. It doesn't get any lower than 0%, and you can get it today at Arlington Toyota. And that's why you should buy from Arlington. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or at arlingtontoyota.com.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Spring and summer registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball. Plus, all new girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. I-9 Sports with fields and gyms all over 3 counties. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find a sport to play. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you become more active, reach your weight loss goals, and find your inner strength. Membership at the Y includes state-of-the-art facilities, a huge variety of fitness classes, and programs for all ages. It's easy to join the Y since it's affordable for all incomes. The Y is a great place to make connections and experience something new. Visit the YMCA near you or online at fcymca.org.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today. McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Baker Glass. The Orlando Magic will have an opportunity to punch their ticket to the playoffs tonight as they host Southeast Divisional rival the Atlanta Hawks tonight in Orlando. The winner will secure the 7th seed in a first-round playoff series against Boston Celtics. Magic's head coach Jamal Mosley on the matchup.
You know, this being the 5th time playing them, knowing what we did before that work, knowing what we need to clean up, understanding what personnel is, and really diving into the details of, you know, how you want to score on this team, but also how you want to stop them.
Catch the big matchup live on 10:10 a.m., tip-off at 7:30. The Florida Gators get back on the mound tonight, hosting a midweek matchup against the Stetson Hatters, looking to extend their 4-game win streak. Starting on the mound for Florida will be right-handed pitcher Jackson Barberi, matching up against Stetson's right-handed pitcher Zane Coppersmith. First pitch will be at 6:30 down at the Condren Family Ballpark. It's 80 degrees at 12:59. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
You just heard it. Molly mentioned in her update about college baseball. 2 quick notes for you. Florida's Aiden King got SEC Freshman of the Week. He struck out 7 batters in 5 2/3 innings of work against Missouri on Saturday. So well done to the Bishop Snyder product. And then FSU's Jamie Arnold got ACC Pitcher of the Week. Arnold struck out 9 and walked 2 in a career-high tying 7 innings. That also happened on Saturday. So wanted to just let people know about those 2 baseball notes. And then 2 quick basketball notes, Taylor. Top transfer guard Xavier Lee is heading to Gainesville for an official visit with the Gators. Of course, he is the former Princeton guard that is looking for a new home. I think Todd Golden would certainly welcome him with open arms. And he's done fairly well in the transfer portal, we have known. And then Alex Condon will test the NBA waters, but he also has an opportunity to return. That was announced by head coach Todd Golden Saturday following the basketball national championship celebration at the Swamp.
What do you think he does?
I think he comes back.
Okay.
But that's also probably me looking at it
like a little hope, too.
Yeah, orange and blue glasses. But I do think it'd be what's best for his development.
Yeah.
We saw towards, after he got hurt towards the end of the SEC tournament and then the NCAA men's basketball tournament, that he just wasn't himself.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he'd be drafted where he wants to go. And look, at the same time, too, for me, big picture, he's from Australia. This is your chance to play one more year of college basketball and be the big man on campus and hopefully play with Thomas Houck if he comes back and really establish yourself as one of the better front court players in all of America, which I don't think right now he's viewed as such.
Are they losing, other than Walter Clayton Jr., is anybody else?
Elijah Martin is gone.
Okay.
Will Richard is gone.
Okay.
And then we'll see what happens with, I saw one of the guys that hasn't started did enter the transfer portal yesterday. I forget his name. It's the double K one. It's a foreign name. But so there's going to be other attrition. Obviously, Buckets, Bennett Anderson, he's gone as well. Not that affected so much. By the way, on Saturday being there, I was fascinated to see who got the loudest ovation outside of Walter Clayton Jr. And Buckets was
really
up there because the students love him.
I love
that. And like we said,
just because of his energy.
His energy, also the fact that his story, he was a manager for 3 years.
That's true,
and then he ends up as a walk-on, then ends up getting to score in a, lopsided games. But in the NCAA tournament, that's a cool story.
Who did you cheer loudest for outside of Walter Clayton?
That's a good question. Houck.
I was about to say. I feel like I would have cheered for Houck.
Yeah, I'm so annoying when I watch basketball games, Florida basketball games, because Houck, who I feel like I adopted him last year during that end of season run with his energy and just how, aggressive he plays too. So I'm always like, anytime he scores, like my guy, anytime he gets a block, my guy. Like I say it 50 times during a game, which is really annoying. All right, I have one question to get to before we air the Jaguars pre-draft media availability coming up here at 1:15. Who gets the most credit if the Jaguars win the AFC South this upcoming season? And you can pick a front office person, you can pick a player, whatever you want.
I'm going to say Liam Coen.
Okay.
And I feel like that's a little obvious, but I do think that so much of this year is going to rely on his. We've talked about fixing the mechanics with Trevor Lawrence, getting that development, getting Trevor Lawrence back to what we know we had seen in glimpses throughout his career so far. But I also just think there were so many moments the last 2 years, honestly, where especially, let's say the last year and a half, where the offense just felt way too predictable. The offense felt like I am not a defensive coordinator and I could tell you exactly what was going to happen. And I feel like that was something we didn't see in Tampa. And I think that will be, if the Jaguars win the AFC South, that to me is going to be a massive reason why they do. And it's because they are able to run the ball. It's because whatever they do with the offensive linemen. So you'll give a little credit to James Gladstone with how that line looks and how they end up protecting Trevor. But I also still think that Liam Coen and the importance and also the schemes and adding chip blocks in the right situations and getting Trevor to, we talk about these play action and RPOs and being able to kind of get him comfortable in the pocket again. And once that happens, I think you can open Trevor into so many other things once you get those like fundamentals back. So to me, I think Liam Coen is just going to be the base, that baseline of what this season actually looks like. And I know the defense is a part of it because you don't want Trevor to have to score 40 points every game. But I do think that if you're consistently scoring in the high 20s, which we haven't seen very much, then you are seeing an offense that's progressing and developing. And I think that, to me, is the key to win this year.
It's funny because it's ironic to me. If I ask the question, who's under more pressure, Liam Coen or Trevor Lawrence, everyone's answer pretty much is Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So if the Jaguars win the AFC South, wouldn't it also naturally be that Trevor Lawrence gets the most credit? But I think you're right. I think Liam Coen. I also think because of the massive hatred that was existing around here around Trent Baalke, that James Gladstone will also get a ton of credit, especially if we see that pick 5, that pick 36, those early round picks hit and play well early on and certainly contribute a lot as starters very early this season. People are just naturally going to say, like, hail James Gladstone, and we told you, Shad, you should have fired Trent Baalke a long time ago. But naturally, the head coach should get a lot of credit. But I do think this season, as we've discussed, is so important for the future of Trevor Lawrence's career, that if this team is consistent offensively, Trevor deserves a lot of the credit because he's the one, yes, he's not calling the plays, but he's the one executing them.
Yeah, and I think that at the end you would, and it would obviously depend what it looks like, because I think that you could win the AFC South without Trevor being absolutely fantastic.
This division isn't.
Yeah, it's not the toughest right now to have to go up against, and I do think that the way that Liam Coen can call plays, and some of the other things that he's ever able to kind of facilitate offensively, it may cover up some of the flaws that we see of Trevor when it comes to the inconsistencies, because we talk about that run game. To me, that's like one of the biggest things, and I think that helped Baker a ton last year. Bucky Irving being able to do what he did and then being able to run that ball, and you already saw the year before Baker kind of take that next step up, but this year he almost doubled his touchdowns, and because of that, I think a large reason was because it wasn't so much pressure on Baker to have to make these miracle plays. And so I do think at the end of the season, you could look back and you could say, okay, Trevor had 23 touchdowns, 10 picks, but they still won the AFC South. And so at that point, you're not giving Trevor all of the credit for that.
It's funny. I feel like with Trevor, nationally, people don't say, well, the run game really hasn't been that good since 2022. Analytics people do, but the average NFL or national person is just like, he hasn't lived up to the generational billing. But yet they look at other teams and they're like, well, look, poor Brock Purdy. The run game fell apart this year because Christian McCaffrey got hurt.
Imagine not having a Christian McCaffrey at all.
Exactly. Imagine not having a run game. And what was Trevor's best year, as we've detailed? It was 2022 when the run game was super successful and consistent and efficient. And so look at Jalen Hurts and what was able to be added with Saquon Barkley, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and certainly Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are a little different because they run the ball so much themselves.
Yeah. But even Josh Allen was benefited by James Cook this last year.
Yeah, the Bills focused on that. Yeah. And so I do just always look at it, or try to look at it from an outside Jacksonville perspective. And it's why I know that I've been kind of like pounding the table for Ashton Genty a little bit the last 2 weeks or so. But I can see a world in which he's the pick, and everyone says, but it's a deep running back class. I get that too.
Yeah.
But if he's the pick, I'm going to be elated.
Yeah, and I've said that too. I would completely be fine if it's Ashton Genty at 5. Everything I've talked about and learned about and watched film about with Ashton Genty, the guy was 130 yards from breaking Barry Sanders' records, and he didn't play 8 quarters of football because they were winning. And so when you start looking at all of the things he can do and forcing missed tackles and getting those yards after contact, those are so beneficial to help the Jags get in those situations where it isn't on Trevor. And if you want to constantly say, this is what bothers me, is I feel like every year at the end of the year, people complain, Trevor didn't have protection. We couldn't run the ball. The offense was predictable. And then when you try and draft pieces to help those things, people get mad because they don't like it at number 5. But this is part of what it is. Take away Jahmyr Gibbs from the Detroit Lions offense, and I feel like it looks drastically different. And not saying all of a sudden they're only winning 5 games, but I do think that it does decrease their chances of some of the games they had won. They were close in a lot of games, and they were close in a lot of games that Jahmyr Gibbs took them over that level. And yeah, they have him and Monty, but even when Montgomery wasn't playing, they were able to run the ball really well because he's such a good running back. And people mock them for making that pick. And I think that sometimes in the moment, some people are going to be like, this is a little crazy. You already have Tank Bigsby and you already have ETN. But then when it works and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, Ashton Genty is a game changer. And to me, he's one of the few players in this draft that is hands down a game changer.
Did the Jaguars beat the Dolphins if they had Ashton Genty a season ago and Etienne's not the one fumbling the football? Do they go on to win that game? Obviously, we'll never know. It's a hypothetical, but it feels like the season would have gotten off to a completely different start if the Jaguars beat the Dolphins in week 1. All right, on the other side, we will bring you the Jaguars pre-draft media availability. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
If you like the heat, we are always bringing it. 1010XL.
Some like it hot, some like it hot.
Getting a pool? David Garrard here. I just did. But before they dug, I called Clearwater Irrigation, and they capped off all my sprinkler lines so the pool company could just dig away.
Then when your pool's finished, we'll install your sprinkler system back to full coverage.
And now my backyard oasis is getting watered beautifully.
And maybe then, Dave, I could take another quick dip.
Bigger swimming trunks, John. Much bigger.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
Experience MJ the Musical at the Jacksonville Center for Performing Arts, April 22nd through 27th. For a chance to win tickets, text MJ Fans to the text line covered by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is more than just a legal process. It's a life-changing event that can impact your future, finances, and your relationship with your children. You've worked hard to build a life that you're proud of, and you deserve a legal partner who will work just as hard to protect it.
Offices in Jacksonville. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. Online at CordellCordell.com.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it work. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Coen Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. E.T. here with 1010XL. Coen Flowers is my go-to, and it should be yours too. Online at CoenFlowers.com.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Family owned and managed for 20 plus years, Hidden Hills Golf Club boasts a unique and welcoming atmosphere. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com to book your next round on our Arnold Palmer signature course. You'll be glad you did.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Right now, get 15% off roof replacement and repairs. Financing's available with monthly payments as low as $115. But this deal ends April 30th. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Millard Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Millard Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Millard Electric Company. Apply today at Miller Careers.